Good afternoon, everyone. Chris Berryman here, coalition builder and founder of Bringing Humanity Together. Welcome to another wonderful Wednesday edition of Conversations for Humanity. And yes, our special guest is here with us today, Sarah Waylett, and she's got an amazing story to tell, and even a bigger story to tell of how even she got connected to us here at Bringing Humanity Together. So stay tuned for that. So again, today's conversation is going to be great, and we again are so humbled and honored for each and every single one of you watching this live or on the replay to be with us today. Because, like I said, I truly believe that not only the stories matter, but those stories can stick because it might be that one story or that one person that can really change your life. So I truly believe in that. So again, welcome everyone to the Bringing Humanity Together live stream. This is one of three open forums under the Bringing Humanity Together umbrella, where people can discuss topics related to the workplace and humanity in the workplace in a very positive and constructive way. We want to know what the issues are out there are facing people today because it's our goal, our mission, our passion, our purpose, and I even dare say our calling here at Bringing Humanity Together to create environments that people will love, not only in those workplaces, but also in our very communities because we see how interconnected they really are. And as always, we'll be going live every day of the week, Monday through Friday. We have our community call on Mondays at 3 p.m. via Google Meet. If you'd like to be a part of that, send me a message or Carla or to Philip, and we'll make sure you get those details too as well. And then we have our other community call, which will be on LinkedIn Audio at 3 o'clock again on Fridays. So if you want to be a part of that, just let me know because I'll be posting that live call for Friday a little bit later on today. Send me a message. I'll make sure you get the details too as well. And of course, I always will be going live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Not this Thursday because we have an upcoming event. It's going to be about the five pillars of bringing humanity together, which will be tomorrow via Google Meet. So if you want to be a part of that, I will share that post with you guys. Send me a message, give you the details on it and everything like that. So let's get into our meet and greet, and let's start with none other than Sarah here. Hello, Sarah. How you doing today?
I'm so wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I'm
Well, we're
excited to
glad
be
that
here.
you're here, and we'll get some introductions out of the way. So, Sarah, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go over to Miss Carla and Philip.
Yeah, awesome. So I am a still fairly new entrepreneur, solopreneur. I started my business, Dream Garden, in January of 2022. And prior to that, I spent 17 years at Accenture in consulting and then in product development and management and growth and strategy. And really, at the end of my time there, I was totally and completely burned out, which is a very common story nowadays. And what I had found was a really special way of recovering from burnout. And so I really decided to make the leap and start my own company around burnout. So that's why I have landed here with y'all to share my story, and I'm just so happy to be here. Thank you.
That is so amazing, and I know you're going to give us some more nuggets of gold when you share your story. Over to you, Miss Carla.
Hey, Sarah, great to have you. Where were you 3 years ago in my life? I was a
Yeah.
burnout nurse in 2018, 2019, and thanks to a layoff, it opened up doors for me to expand my business, and I haven't looked back. And I'll probably never go back to healthcare.
Yeah.
I'll go
Yeah.
stock groceries at Kroger if I have to, but no way. I'm going to put myself back into that stress treadmill again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I met Kristen 2020 on LinkedIn. We happened to have, I had family in the area in Florida that he's in, and the rest is history. So I have a global internet-based health and wellness business. I help people with their health and wellness and to create healthy physical and financial lifestyles in their life. And, when people are going, I'm burnt out, I'm like, I'll talk to you, you know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was just replying to somebody. I posted a thing about Gary Vaynerchuk about it was, would you want a $300,000 job and be miserable in your job versus 75 and have less stress? And I said, well, why can't you have both?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So
Yep.
Anyway, that's kind of my story. I live outside of Atlanta, Georgia, and I have my lazy co-worker here is Cosmo, or my beagle. He sleeps most of the day while I work, and that's about it.
Yeah, and Cosmo's the official dog of Bringing Humanity Together. So when you see him, he is going to be amazing, because if you can believe it or not, Sarah, he gets more hits and more views on Instagram than Carla does.
He gets more hits on Reels than I do.
He's very popular.
Okay, because I make him, Yeah. But you'll probably hear him before you see him, but he's sound asleep underneath his blanket over here now. There he is. He's under there somewhere.
Yeah,
Under there. That's so
He'll start snoring in about 15 minutes.
Yep. So thank you so much, Carla. Over to you, Philip.
Good afternoon. Hi, Sarah. I'm ecstatic to meet you because I like what you do. I think it kind of goes along the lines of why I chose to do what I do. I am the founder and creator of Ale Solutions. And right now, my biggest project is assisting or coaching veterans, first responders, and law enforcement to break through that trauma for a happier life. And learning, and I use self-awareness as a foundation to build upon, because everything starts with you. And if you don't like it, why do it? Why go to do what you don't like? I'd rather be fortunate enough to have my bases all covered to where I can enjoy life now. I've never been able to, because I'm a combat veteran, service connected disabled, and it's an opportunity for me to give back and set the next generation up for success, because hey, that's who's going to be taking care of us when we're old.
Well, I think a lot of people can't even conceive the fact that they could actually live their life by design and not by default.
That's right. I agree with that.
It's desperation. And they want you to be desperate, so you force yourself to go into work and do all that to provide for yourself and your family.
Yeah.
When you don't have that, they tell you, oh, you're overqualified.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Well, because you said you're not going to get woke up 2 o'clock in the morning and answer.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
No.
Philip, not anymore.
No, ain't doing that.
Yeah, I lost 8 pounds of stress in 2 weeks when I left healthcare.
Yeah.
I didn't realize the impact of stress until I left.
And it's communication from multiple people that solidify the mindset of you got to take care of yourself. You can't help anybody else if you're broken.
Well, we talked about this before, that in healthcare, I never had any personal development. Never, never, never.
Mm-hmm.
They talked about, what's your personality type or whatever, but we never used it in practice or anything. And there was never time there was nothing about your own personal development.
Yeah.
And let's change that. And you know what?
Absolutely.
If it's not there, create it.
Now I have a personal development plan with a paycheck.
That's exactly what you do. And you know what? You can't think of everything. So we need Sarah. We need Carla. We need Chris to bring this out and connect people that we would never met unless it was for LinkedIn or this podcast or LinkedIn Live. So cherish it. And I'm gracious to know that and grateful that I get to meet you guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you for your service, first of all.
Yeah, she's seen a lot overseas and that kind of thing. And
also thank you for your service, Philip.
Yeah. In fact, your son, Carla, was in the Marine Corps, was he not?
Yeah, once a Marine, always a Marine. Yeah.
That's right. My grandmother was a Marine.
Oh,
no
awesome.
way.
Yeah,
That's a
I come
whole
from,
different mindset.
yes, I come from a long line of military
Mhm.
veterans. So both my parents were Air Force, and then my mom is the oldest of 8, and 6 of the 8 children served in one branch of the military or other, and then both of my grandparents served in World War II.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So,
awesome.
yep. And then when I asked my dad, like, I was like, "Well, do you think that I should at least join the reserves?" He's like, "Honey, like your family has done
Sacrificed enough. You don't need to.
your family has done so much." And besides the fact, I think he sort of knew I was a rule breaker and that probably wouldn't quite fit.
That was me.
Wow.
I didn't know how to shut my mouth.
Imagine that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to put this out there to everybody. If anyone doesn't know who I am, of course, I am Chris Berryman, the coalition builder and founder of Bringing Humanity Together. And it started for me 15 years ago when I asked myself this very question. And Sarah, I know I sent you my story, but this is not in my story. I asked myself, should I be working with people or for people? And I knew there's a big distinction in and of itself between working with and working for. Because when you work for others, you help others get what they want and build their field of dreams, and not necessarily yours. But that doesn't necessarily mean to say that they wouldn't help you in one way, shape, matter, or form in that kind of context. But see, when you flip it around and say, I want to be working with people, and you invest in them and they invest in you, still to this very day, Sarah, I truly believe the best investment is human investment, and we still ain't going to put a price tag on that. We can't. And that is why I truly believe the next currency of humanity is going to be rooted in value and not money. Because when we showcase that value to people to the nth degree, not only can it change their mind, change their heart, change their way of being to a certain extent, but we're not forcing that on them. But we just let that be for what it is. That will be a stepping stone, I truly believe, into a much larger world that we can say, you know what, I want to become a part of something bigger than myself, and not do it for me, but do it for others, because the very act of giving is in the very act of receiving. And then the second epiphany moment that really came to me, Sarah, in the creation of this is when I was a corporate recruiter for a solar company here in Lakeland, and I was asking applicants and candidates questions like, do you want to be a part of something bigger than of yourself? Do you want to leave a living and lasting impact every day in every way? Do you want to help others build their field of dreams, and they in turn will help build yours? And that's when I had to chatter on the brain to such an extent, still even to this day, that I can't shake, that I know I've been called to do this. I just know it's not a matter of if this gets big, it's only a matter of when and who's on board. And that's it. And then, of course, the third epiphany moment still comes to me and shows up to me every single day through my awesome wife, Melinda, who I've been married to for over 25 years. And she still tells me things like, I'm tired of being tired. I'm tired of being underappreciated. I'm tired of being undervalued. And that's when I said, I know what I got to do. I got to do this. And I want to uplift others, because if we rise with them and we help them to get to those field of dreams, not only we will actually rise with them, but we can actually bring more people in tow. And I truly believe in that. And that is why our community and team is getting bigger and better by the day. Because I'm going to put this out there right now for everybody. I'm not doing this for me. I am not. I'm doing this for Carla. I'm doing this for Philip. I'm doing this for my wife. I'm doing this for Isabel. I'm doing this for so many different people from around the world. I mean, we were just on a call on Monday, and one of the guys is from the Philippines that wants to be a part of this. So that's the amazing thing about this, because when you just meet people where they are and take them for who they are and build that bridge to them and with them in such a way, Sarah, not only does it work in your world, but works in theirs. I truly believe the next thing that comes to pass is not only the very definition of change, but it's literally a gift in and of itself, which is transformation. And I truly believe that. And we all believe that here at Bring Humanity Together, because it goes right in line to the 5 pillars of Bring Humanity Together, which is, of course, leadership, human development, health and wellness, family and community. I truly believe they're all interconnected in one way, shape, matter, or form. But see, the beautiful thing about that is, Sarah, It comes down to this very quote from Star Wars that has changed my life like you'll never know. And I truly believe in this. Think about this, and I'll turn it over to you to share your story, is to embrace others for their differences for that which makes you whole. I truly believe right now, Sarah, we're on a cusp of something so much larger and so much greater than ourselves because probably we've been taught for so many years to believe we only have to nitpick on the parts of what we like or don't like. And we have to go to that kind of dynamic. Just take people for who they are. You may not agree on some things, that's okay. You may not even go into alignment with some people on some things. But see, when you have that alignment and agreement come into play, to where you can start with the alignment and then work on the agreement, or you start on the agreement and have to work into the alignment, that is the gift in and of itself because you can get to both if you allow that to occur. So, Sarah, the hour is yours, and please come share your story. And like I said, can't wait to speak with you offline more. And we are so humbled and honored that you are here with us today.
Oh, well, thank you again. Just such a pleasure to be in a space with others who truly hold similar philosophies to me. Definitely got that alignment going. So I'll just start by telling you that the reason that I believe that in Dream Garden and the reason that I believe in the work that I do is that I am a self-proclaimed burnout overachiever. And I believe that I needed someone like me through my career when I was totally burnt out, had no idea what it looked like, but I knew that I was laying on the floor staring at the ceiling saying, what the F has happened to me? Right. And that's happened many, many times in my life. And actually, as a matter of fact, when Carla, similar story, right? When I left corporate in January of last year, I thought I was starting a career coaching business. Turns out my body had other plans. My body said, time out. You have decades of chronic stress to unravel in your body. Even though I'd been out on LOAs multiple times, the average was every 4 years, I would have a nervous breakdown and go to therapy, and they would sign the paperwork, and I'd take my short-term disability leave and try to heal, and then come back, and nothing had changed, and just go straight back in the cycle all over again. But my body finally said, no, 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 no. This time we're not doing it that way. And really, I was flat on my hiney. And so I found a practitioner finally after years of looking for what all of these small symptoms all over the place were. And it turns out I had a number of infections in my small intestine thanks to chronic stress. And it was wreaking havoc on my hormones. It was wreaking havoc on, like, I was having dizzy spells. I had hives. I had, panic attacks. I mean, you name it, I was having the symptoms. And I'm watching Carla. She's like, yep, this is what happens. And so I went on a healing journey last year, because I made space. I made space for my body to say, listen, we need to heal. And at the same time, as I was healing and really on my butt, I went down a rabbit hole and said, I have this methodology that combines mindfulness and design thinking, but why does it work? What's the evidence behind this? I know it works in my body, and I know intrinsically it works for me. And it turns out that I found a way. Mindfulness is well known to, help with stress and to combat stress and to complete the cycle of stress in the body. But what has been missing has been how to deal with the stressors, right? How to be resilient to something that actually causes stress in the body in the first place. And what I found was that design thinking actually helped to do that. It allowed myself and the folks that I was working with to reframe that stress that was coming at me and be able to deal with it in a completely different way. And so I made a pivot as a new entrepreneur 6 months in and said, okay, this is where I'm going to focus. And it turns out when I really started to look at my own patterns in my own life, I had been burning myself out probably since I was 6 years old. That was the first time I can remember being overwhelmed by work, right? My first grade teacher was walking down the aisle, handed me a worksheet. And I remember as soon as she passed, crumpling up that worksheet. I had one of those old school desks, those of us that are my age, with the thing. And I stuffed that paper in my desk. And that wasn't the only paper that was stuffed in there. I had to make room, right? And I just was like, I can't deal with this one more thing at age 6. And so, looking at that pattern, I was like, that's the first time, but that wasn't where it stopped, right? It went all through school. I would study. I would try to get straight A's to perform and make sure that I was doing everything and feeling valued and worthy and good enough. I would pass out when it got to the holiday time, right? I'd get sick and I'd sleep for 2 weeks straight, and then I'd do it all over again every semester, right? And then as soon as I started work, I started into the same habitual burnout pattern, right? Overworking, sacrificing everything for the work to prove my value and worth, going after the next, role, team, promotion, right? Raise, whatever it was, so that I could feel worthy inside of myself, looking for that external validation. And finally just said, enough. And when I said enough, it was time to also step out of that corporate hamster wheel. And so, about 6 months into my entrepreneurial journey, sort of switched gears completely and really started to hone in on this idea that we actually don't have to stop working in order to deal with our own stress. It's nice to take a break, and healing helps when we're on a break, but we don't have to, especially if we have to pay the bills, right? We need to support ourselves. But we can change the way that we work. And that's the whole concept of what I do, is to totally reframe work, the way we work, and use mindfulness combined with design thinking in order to manage and then fully recover from burnout, and then use those same tools to prevent it from happening again. And when I talk about mindfulness, I don't mean hey, I'm going to the mountain, I'm sitting in meditation for the rest of my life, and stress is all going away. That's not what I'm talking about, right? Because stress is always going to be there. It's not going away. I'm also not talking about long meditation practices, right? And trying to still your mind completely and empty your mind, because I personally, with someone with severe anxiety, know that how almost impossible that is for me to do. And even some breathing techniques can actually heighten my anxiety, not calm me down. And so the way that I practice mindfulness is through embodiment. So movement, right? And often it's movement with obviously breathing. 10 deep breaths takes 90 seconds. Anybody can take 10 deep breaths and finish a cycle of stress in their body. And that's usually where I start, is the simplest of the simple of the simple. Take 10 deep breaths, right? Start there. And then we move into other modalities through, yogic breath, movement, dance, and everything is real accessible, very simple, right? So nothing that I teach is longer than 5 minutes, right? So mindfulness in moments and minutes, and not, tens of minutes or hours. And then reframing with a question first. In design thinking, we use a reframe called "How might we?" And so how gets to the solution, right? We're looking for a solution. Might is this idea that nothing is black and white. It's not success or failure, that we're experimenting and iterating until we find something that works well for us. And then we is not the individual we or I, right? I didn't change it for this work to be how might I, because really, truly, we are never alone when we are solving our own problems, right? We have friends, we have coworkers, we have family members, we have other people in our support structures that actually are there to help support us however we need them to be. If we're brave enough to ask, that they will help us solve whatever problem it is that we're facing. And so we reframe using that, and then we use a number of tools that are typically used for like user interface design and customer experience design and employee experience design, all of these things that are used for innovation in the workplace. I've just taken those same tools and sort of turned them on their side and said, let's use them for individual self-exploration. Philip, to your point, right? This idea that we get to know ourselves through the tools. And what I love about design thinking is literally it's a sticky note and a Sharpie, right? And it's one piece of data at a time on that Sharpie or on that sticky note. And then we just start to put something outside of ourselves in a certain period of time. And all of a sudden we have a data set about ourselves answering a particular prompt of a question. And we can see the networks, we can see the clustering, we can see the data categories, we can see the relationships between all of these little pieces of data. And we might actually find something that we had no idea was in our unconscious before, that just decided to come up to the surface while we were just free-flowing stream of consciousness into this how might we question. And so that's where I find the magic happens, is that there's so much freedom in the structure of this methodology and the structure of these ways to problem solve, that we can really tackle almost any stressor and then deal with the stress that is already present in the body. And we close down I love to talk about stress in terms of like your browser window. If I could tell you how many tabs I have open right now. But like, if we think of stress in the body in the same way, right? How many browser tabs do we have open in our bodies that we like have all these stressful situations, but we didn't close the cycle, right? We didn't run, we didn't fight something, we didn't play dead, right? We left the browser tab open. We left the cycle open in our body, and it lives on in our bodies. In my case, it was my digestive system. Woohoo, right? Like, so in order to close those browser tabs, we use the mindfulness to continue to build a practice of closing the tabs on a regular basis. And then as we have the practice of that, we also are more apt to remember to use a tool when we are triggered in the moment, right? If we're practicing the practices, right? We're practicing the methods. We can actually remember, or better remember, we don't always remember, to use a tool in the moment to help ourselves close the current tab that is open, right? And so that's the whole philosophy and sort of my journey and story into this big wide world of entrepreneurship. It's been a wild ride in 2022 and into this year, as all of you probably can imagine. It's so lovely to be in spaces like this where I know that there are others that have similar belief systems in changing the way that we show up at work, that we are allowed to be whole people, that yes, there is trauma at work because we don't check our baggage at the door when we walk through the office, or even when we lift the laptop lid. It's not being left behind. We're bringing all of that. And the more that we can be human-centered in all things at work, in problem solving, in team building, in everything, I believe that our creativity is endless for the problems that we might be able to solve. So it's just such a pleasure to be here. And I'm not sure from here, I'd love to either answer questions or have people reflect with me on any part of my story that also resonates with the group.
Well, I will tell you right off the bat, you're literally a gift, Sarah. And here's why. You were in a place that said, you know what, I'm going to be burned out for X amount of days or weeks or whatever. And you finally decide, you know what, I'm going to change the way not only I think, but the way I do things. And you
Yeah.
took not only charge of your life, but you know what, you set an example for others to follow. And I definitely got to talk to you now because, like I said, when you're talking about health and wellness, it really just gives me the chills when I hear about people saying I'm going to take control of my health and everything like that.
Mhm.
Because see, when we understand our bodies to such an extent, not only from a health and wellness standpoint, but literally a mindfulness and awareness standpoint, again, meeting people where they are and taking them for who they are. I truly believe that pays dividends not only for us, but it pays dividends for those people that we connect with. And see, I'm a firm believer, Sarah, that connection will lead into collaboration, and that collaboration will lead into community. It is there, but do we actually allow that to occur? So let's bring some more people into the conversation today. We have Safrine here, all the way from Germany, with us today, and one of our newest team members here and community members. I call her B for short, but she's all about BU and everything like that. Brenda Lease is here. So, Safrine, over to you.
Hey, Chris and everyone. So nice to hear about what the body and wellness from you, Sarah. It was really nice. I was trying to learn and know a lot of things that's new for me. And it was really helpful. And hey, Philip, I can see you thinking something. Hey, Carla, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm also fine. Thank you. And Brenda Lees.
Yes.
And I hope I pronounced it correctly.
There's no wrong. There's no right or wrong, whichever way it comes
No, I
out.
get
I love
very
it.
sad if somebody says my name wrong.
I,
That's not
I,
me.
I
How do
haven't.
you say it?
Brenda Liz.
Brenda
And
Liz.
what about you, Safin?
Safin, yes.
Oh, not Saffron?
Safin.
No R.
Okay, I didn't think there was.
No, it was Safin. Okay. Brenda Liz.
Yeah, I
Brenda
don't
Liz.
mind because I embrace diversity, and I think like we all bring our own uniqueness, and I can't pronounce half of people's names, so I can't judge.
Yeah. I've been called all sorts of things. As long as it's nice, I'll answer. You know, I've gotten Carl, Carly, Carol, Paola, you name it, I've gotten it. You know,
Oh,
I
that's
answer to
funny.
anything as long as it's nice.
So,
So, Sarah, I love what you were talking about stress and how a lot of people think, oh, if I just take this or I do that, I'm not going to have any stress in my life. No, stress is always going to be there.
Right.
And a lot of people don't realize that their mental stress and their physical stress are tied together. And then a
Mhm.
lot of times we create our own physical stress
Mm.
that affects the hormones along with the work stress and our mental stress and things like that. You know, a good example of that is people that are saying, you know, hey, I'm gonna be a bodybuilder, or I'm gonna lose 50 pounds, and they really don't really have 50 pounds to lose. You know, those people, you know, that are working out 7 days a week, 3 hours a day, are creating so much physical stress on their body. They don't realize that it's also affecting their cortisol levels and their hormones as well. You know, it's all kind of tied together. And, you know, a lot of people are walking around with anxiety and depression, and they don't realize that, for example, serotonin, the happiness hormone, 95% of it is made in your gut. So if you're stressed and you have a bad intestinal lining and you're not making any serotonin, all the antidepressants, the SSRIs, the serotonin reuptake medications,
Yes.
are not gonna help if you don't have any to take up.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it is so all tied together, and people don't realize it. But once you start putting all that together, it makes sense because there's the science to back it all up. And I was that hot mess of stress. I decided at 50 to go back to school and get my bachelor's degree and then a master's degree. And I was working a full-time job, and I was a hot mess of stress, literally.
Wow. Yeah.
Um,
You
and
are survivor.
it wasn't until I started feeling better when I put my foot down and said, I've got to take control of my health, that it made such a huge difference in my life. And then when I went on to be a nurse practitioner, working 50 to 60 hours a week, and that stress started to build up, I'm like, I'm not doing this again. I'm not going down that road again.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
No,
Now-
and for a lot of people, it takes a lot of courage to say, that's it. I'm going to make a change. And I was looking for other things because I was trying to figure out how I could take care of my dad and spend quality time with him. And then the best thing that ever happened was the layoff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's funny that you say that for two things. I think one, you have to be ready. Nobody will do this before or after. And
Oh, no.
some people, they need to go on a certain path to get there. But however, that moment that you are ready, oh my God, can change happen? And how quickly can change happen? Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, you mentioned about layoffs. I mean, I was laid off last year in 2022. And I see it as a blessing in disguise. For 6 years, I wanted to do something different, and I didn't have the courage. I was filled with fear. The imposter in me kept telling me, hey, no, don't have the capabilities to do that yet. Da, 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 da. And it wasn't until I was put in an uncomfortable situation that I realized, holy shit, sorry. You know what I mean? This is my moment. I need to do this. Like, if I don't do this now, I'm going to be 10 years down the road, and I'm going to be asking myself, why didn't I do it then?
That's
And
right.
I said,
Absolutely.
if it works, it doesn't work. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I am giving myself the space. However, it came from a space of being very uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And then going through my own healing journey, I had to find myself, and I had to figure out how to get out of that a rabbit hole, right? And be able to then say, no, this is me, this is who I am, this is where I'm meant to be. So Sarah, I think what you're doing is brave, is courageous, and it's powerful.
Thank you.
Well, I
Thank you.
remember I had wanted to continue to grow my business more than I was doing it kind of part-time. And when I walked out, my God said to me, tomorrow we're going to start your business. This is what your game plan is going to be. And you have to get past, when you're thinking about doing it, you have to get past what other people are going to say, because they're not living your life. And I cannot tell you the number of times that people have said to me, why don't you go get a real job? It's like, I do have a real job.
Right.
I have a real paycheck. I do have insurance. I love what I do. Why don't you go get a real job?
Right.
But you have to get past that. I don't care what other people think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the funny part is that when you're ready, things will unfold. So the moment you open your heart to whatever's going to come your way, at that point in time, it's like things start to come your way. And yeah, there's still going to be challenges. It's not going to be perfect.
No.
But things will unfold as long as you open your heart and your soul to it.
And it's going to be messy at first.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's definitely been an exercise in surrender.
Definitely an exercise in letting go of perfection.
Yeah.
Yes. I
And
am
you get to
also a
exhale.
recovering perfectionist. Sorry, Philip, go ahead.
No, I stepped on you. I said just a way to exhale. And and after I got rid of my ex and everything, and my current wife showed me how I was being manipulated, because I'm a people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
And it just felt like everything was lifted off of me. It's no longer my responsibility. And I held on to that for 20 years. of hope that never came to fruition.
Mhm.
But what you were talking about before, you call stress, and what I'm doing, I call trauma.
Yeah.
And that's why everybody was like, well, fix that on one specific market, not which is veterans. But I was like, but we're all part of the first responders and law enforcement. They're so intertwined.
Yes.
And I love talking to nurses because, wow, you guys have some stories.
Oh man. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
But
we
so do
do.
we.
Oh yeah, we do.
And it's coming together and recognize that, because when we're in those capacities, we get along great. I get along with everybody because we're there. We all have some type of service empathy within you. And the
Yeah.
same thing with the military. It's the problem is people can't get out of that past and live in the moment. And I like what you were saying. It's the moment.
Yeah.
That's all we have.
That's
And
right.
I thank you for everybody in here sharing that moment.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to figure that out. I wish I had me. I wish I had you. I wish I had everybody
Oh
20 years
no.
ago.
Right.
Wouldn't life
But
been a lot easier?
Hindsight's
yeah,
yeah,
it really
hindsight's
is
always
amazing.
20/20.
Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead, Carla.
I said hindsight's always 20/20, But you
Yeah.
can't do anything about yesterday except learn from it. You have to live with today, and you're wasting energy if you're worrying about tomorrow.
Yeah. I just think it's so amazing too, the younger generations, how in tune they really are with. I mean, they have so many more resources at their fingertips, maybe some not so great resources, but other really good resources. And they're so much more aware of the way that they want to show up in their lives and the way that they want to work and live and be. And then they have access to resources, many times free resources, because we are all giving away our resources, right, to help in service. But also just like, I think they're just, in a way, they're craving things that we have set aside because some definition of success was put upon us and we believed it for too long, right? And then we said, you know what, that's actually not my own definition of success, that's somebody else's, whether it's society or my parents or my family or right, whatever. But like, I think that more and more I see people like us really redefining what we believe is success, right, in service of others. And then I do see so much hope in our younger generations that they're already there in a way that we just weren't when we were younger, right? And maybe it is just access to information.
I agree with that. I would add that there's been an awakening in our generations in the last
Yeah.
couple of years. And this
Yeah.
awakening that we have been experiencing, it's also translating to the younger generations because they're seeing the example. I mean, I can talk about my daughter. My daughter's 12 years old. I began to meditate probably around 7 years. And one day I remember my husband had a branch of a tree fell. It almost hit my husband, and my daughter freaked out. And she went to the bathroom, and all she said, "Mom, bring me the YouTube meditation." Like she could, and she was like 7 years old at that time, and she was already
Bless her.
controlling herself because she kind of saw like the whole thing falling in her dad. Like she thought her
Yeah.
dad was gonna get hit. So
Yeah.
why am I saying this? Because we lead by example, but they
Mhm.
learn from us, right? And
Yeah.
they model what they see. So if they're seeing their parents actually take control over their development, control over their emotions, control over their mindfulness, they will eventually catch up with you. And that's
Yeah.
the best way to really drive change in the younger generation. It's
Oh,
not to
yeah.
tell them what to do, but to show them how it's done.
That's right. That's right. I had a conversation earlier today about how often we love to talk about the what, when we have a problem. We love to admire it in all the different, right? We just look at the problem. We want to roll around in the problem. We right? We just want to get all in the muck and the mire. And we're like, yeah. But actually, the key is actually getting to the how, right? Like the tools for how to actually solve the problem are the key. And so often we stay in the what actually is the problem versus actually just trying to embody and work through something and try something, right? And get to a how and using a tool and things like that. It just reminded me, Brenda-Lise, when you said that, just how much the doing example is so important. It's not about what we say to them at the end of the day, right? Words have power, but also it is about setting that example and actually walking the walk, right, on a regular basis. So I love that so much.
So it's funny because I went on I did my NLP master practitioner last year, and when I did that, when I came back home, 17, 18 days after, my family was like, "Where's mom? Where's my wife?" Like my husband, it's like they changed you completely, and I'm like, "Well, this is me. This has always been me. It's just a soft version of myself, right? An enhanced version of myself." Exactly. So but the thing is, then they start to catch up. I don't need to tell them what to do. They start to catch up on the body language. They start to catch up on the wordings, and eventually, then you see them using your same words, and then recognizing. And we had a struggle with my daughter at the beginning of the year, and I said, you know what? I need to. In my mind, I'm like, I need to give her skills. That's all I can give her, skills. So if I teach her the skills, is she going to take them positively from me? No. So I took her to another training of NLP. She's 12. She was all in participation with people who were above 21 years old. She was the younger in that during that training, and she thrived. And now she is teaching her dad, like, no, daddy, you're not supposed to say that way. Oh, you know what, daddy, you need to create rapport with people. Oh, daddy, like, but it's not about me pushing it. Like, yeah, I did push it a little bit, but it's not about me telling her exactly what to do. But when she listens and she hears others and she sees the benefit of it, and they're learning from your own behavior, then it's easier for them
That's right.
and that's what this generation has that we didn't have. We learn a lot by ourselves. They have models to look at.
Yeah. 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 I love that example, Brenda. Thank you for sharing that. It's wonderful. Your daughter's going to change the world.
I have faith in the younger generation. A lot of people don't, but I do. I think we
Yeah,
still have a
me
lot
too.
that we can do for them.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. And we actually have now Angelica here. Hello, Angelica. Are you there?
She might be driving.
Well, drive safe anyways if you are, but we're glad that you are here with us today. But let's go around the room, and I want to get more in depth into what Sarah shared with us today with her story. So, Philip, what really also showed up to you in the way Sarah presented her story?
Actually, I like the way she pretty much validated everything I'm doing.
Yes.
And I was looking at it, well, thank God it's just not me.
That's right.
No, it's not
Because,
just you. You're not alone.
well, and that's why I come to this, because outside of this or whatever, you have your own real world going on.
Mhm.
And a lot of it is breaking the stigma of mental health and realize it's a natural thing, just like, brushing your teeth.
That's right.
If you don't take that time, and I like what you're doing, hey, I'd love to have a conversation with you, because
Yeah.
I think we could probably talk forever.
We probably could.
But keep
Yeah.
it up. And I think it's definitely needed, because I'm finding out more and more of what I'm doing and the people I connect with. Why didn't we think of this earlier? And you know what? It doesn't matter because we've done it now. And it's that taking that action is what really matters. And I wouldn't be where I'm at now if I hadn't started going on these and gaining that understanding and confidence.
And think about it, Philip. It might just take calls like these to get people not only motivated, but to say, this is how I can be a part of this by just maybe just showing up, sharing my story. And it might lead into something bigger by just letting it play out. And I truly believe in that. I really do. So I have my great friend and mentor from the great state of Florida with me here today. He's, of course, in South Florida. Brian is here with us today. Hello, Brian.
Hey, Chris. How are you?
I am doing great, sir. Any great news on the golf front? Are you getting ready to play some golf this weekend?
No, I've just been quite busy with work and setting up several companies and doing that type of stuff, which is more time consuming and more interesting right now than golf.
But you keep on posting those great pictures of the beach and all that kind of stuff, and you're making Carla kind of like envious. But you keep on posting that stuff. She's gonna say, "Hey, I want to end up moving down here anyways."
I'm not the jealous type. I like it.
She's been threatening to move to Florida for like 3 years.
You know why I haven't yet, okay?
Yes.
And that's a whole different story in and of itself.
Yeah.
So no worries there. But we're glad that you're here with us, Brian. We greatly appreciate you being here. So, Safreen, what's the things that actually stand out to you as well from Sarah sharing her story? What's the things that really says, hey, I did not know about this? I mean, what was it for you?
For me, it was also almost like Philip, what he said, that I was thinking that it's only me, but it's actually a lot of people. Like, first of all, why I got so attached with you, Chris, because of your story that gave me strength. And I am hearing everyone's story and I'm feeling I'm blessed. Like it's just a part of a lot everyone's life, and we should learn from it, and we should not just break down and define it who we are. We should make ourselves stronger and happier. Hug, Sarah.
Thank you. I receive it. Thank you.
Yeah, and see, that is why I truly believe this is going to be so powerful for a lot of people when we not only do these calls, but we actually take the step into a much larger opportunity when we get off these calls and say, hey, I can talk your head all day about this. And I truly believe that's, again, a blessing and a gift in and of itself. So, Angelica, are you there?
She is.
Angelica,
I don't think she knows her mic's
are
on.
you there?
Yeah.
We hear you, but do you
Oh,
hear
I was
us?
making noise in the background.
That's all right. How are
How
you
you guys
today,
doing?
Angelica?
Yes, I'm doing all right. How about you guys?
Oh, it's a wonderful Wednesday. Can't complain.
Awesome. Exciting stuff.
Well, we're glad that you're here with us today. How are things going there in sunny California?
It's kind of dreary today, to tell you the truth. It's kind of overcast, but it's a warm day nonetheless, and excited because we're getting ready for an event at the park in June. We're gonna have a mermaid there for the kids.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'm gonna see about dressing as a pirate, so because I have a pirate book. So yeah, so I'm excited.
You're going to give Captain Jack Sparrow a run for his money.
Love it.
I see that.
Nice. It's good to see everybody. And I heard you guys talking about wellness with the children, and I like what I heard, because that's one of the things that we teach with wellness. Wendy Wellness teaches we have a website where we teach the parents how to do activities with their children. So I believe that, you know, when you're doing it with your children and you make it a habit, then they learn those breathing techniques, and then they can control their emotions. They can, you know, so totally agree with that.
All right,
Yeah.
very good, very good. And we're glad that you're a part of our great and growing team and community too, as well, Angelica. And like I said, we're glad that you're here.
Thank
And
you.
yes, so I gotta ask you this, Sarah. This just came to my mind,
Sure.
and it's going to be about the 5 pillars of bringing humanity together, which is, of course, leadership, human development, health and wellness, family, and community. When you hear those 5 pillars, what shows up to you?
Well, it's interesting because I see a picture instead of words, right? So they're certainly circular because they're all interconnected. And it does remind me of some of the elements of my own well-being framework, because I think that when we think about those elements together, right, it's representative of a whole, and one cannot exist without the others, right? And so I think about how they all work together to be a part of a whole, and then how actually probably each and every one of us might define each of those elements in a different way, right? Like what leadership looks like to me could be different than what Philip would define it as, right? Even though it's likely complementary, right? But it might look a little bit different. The way that I show up as a leader is likely different than most of the people on the call, right? And we each have our own individual versions of those things, right? Family, wellness. I'm always talking about, even in terms of health and wellness or well-being, that we each define our own sort of terms of success for well-being, right? Like, what does well-being mean for me? And so I love the elements and sort of the structure, but I also kind of appreciate that there are likely, you know, millions of different versions of how that shows up in each and every one of us, which is something that I love, because I do think that that we are, you know, at our core, when it comes to stress, our body has functions and we all respond to stress in the same way, right? That's where I start with people. I'm like, you're not responding to stress differently than someone else. This is like a physiological thing that your body does, by the way, right? But then there are just all of these beautiful nuances about the way that we show up as a unique individual in the world. And that is an expression of who we are, our lived experiences, our hopes, our dreams, right? And so I think about, I would say that's how I would think about those 5 pillars.
Well, and then I was going to put this out there, Sarah. I'm going to be 110% behind Philip when he said, I can talk your head all day off and that kind of thing. I mean, I can see we could talk till the cows come home. But you just said something that was really pivotal. And I truly believe that this is, like I said, the better question to ask. And I'm going to ask you, Sarah, is the better question to ask what you do, or is it the better question to ask is who are you?
Always, who are you? Right? Always. Because I lived a life for a very long time defining myself by what I did. It was everything to me. It was how I proved my worth in the world, by saying I work for a Fortune 100 consulting company and I'm this level and I have a team of this size. Everything was like, every time I introduced myself, it was like the same. It was a company level, industry, right? Function every time. I'm a senior director at Accenture, whatever, right? I mean, every time. And now, well, sure. Do I say I created and founded Dream Garden? Yes. But you know what I get to say on, as well is usually I'm telling my story as a way to introduce someone to what I do, right? I'm telling them who I am so that they feel comfortable sharing with me where they are in their own journey. And that always feels so much better, right? Like to just share who I am and why a little bit more, right? Like a good old Simon Sinek's, like, let's start with why. Like, why do I do what I do? It's because I needed someone like me. And here's why, right? So
I love that, and I'm glad you see the 5 pillars as a big picture, because I do too as well. And I saw long ago that they were interconnected to each other. But when you think about it, I see this. It literally, there will be the grand tapestry of humanity, and the thing we got to really ask ourselves is, where do we want to put ourselves into that tapestry or that picture? Where do we want to see ourselves there doing? And I for the life of me, for many years, and it wasn't even in my story, Sarah, so I left this one out. I told myself for so many years I had to just make it about me and always me. It's always going to be about the money. It's always going to be about the position. It was always going to be about the title. And I had to let all that go. I just knew if I get into a place of position and authority and an expert, or however you want to call it, I didn't want it to make it about myself anymore. Because if I'm getting to a place of leadership and I'm sharing my story with the world and saying, hey, I could be the next TEDx speaker like Melissa Miranda, or what the other guy, Derek Sievers, when he says about how to start a movement and everything like that. I don't want to be the next whoever. I just want to be Chris Berryman, and that's it, and that's that. And see what you shared in the kind of picture of the 5 pillars, and you say they can branch off and go into many different directions. I truly believe in that, and here's why. I truly believe there's multiple paths to leadership, multiple paths to growth, multiple paths to thriving, multiple ways to connect with people in a way that's not only going to be a benefit to you, but also going to be a benefit to them. And it goes right again, I have to say it, to what even Mendelise is all about. Be you. You can just be you. What more can you ask for anybody? You don't have to tell them that you have to put a mask on and say, I'm only this today at work, but when I go home, I'm totally different, you know? And I literally lived that life for many years. I had to end up checking my baggage at the door. And when you think about it, Sarah, and I want to get everyone's take on it too as well, do we actually check our humanity at the door? So I'll start with that question for everyone to engage with. So I'll start with you, Sarah. Do you truly believe that we check our humanity at the door?
I think we're encouraged to by large employers. I think that they would love us to leave all of that behind and only think of the work that needs to get done and the productivity levels that need to be delivered and the project timelines and all of the things. I think that a lot of times, especially in really big businesses, I mean, the company I left was 700,000 people. Okay.
Wow.
Right? So yeah, I think that despite what those businesses say to the markets about how valuable their employees are, I think that they actually prefer you just to come to work and get your job done. And yet what we know, no matter what size the organization is, that when you are a leader, you spend a really good chunk of your time dealing with all of the people stuff. Right? Like, you know, and there are some people that don't want to deal with the people stuff, and that's totally fine. And then there are other people, you know, like me, when I show up to a team and I have some people to lead, I probably spend 50% of my time on the people stuff, because I think it's so important, because it's part of how they show up and how then they are happy, and then how they perform and how creative they are and how regulated they are and how psychologically safe they feel. And, but I think the majority of businesses, that may be sort of stuck in the old school, if you will. There's some that are moving towards the new school, but there are lots that are stuck in the old school, would prefer that we did.
All right. I love that. And I will go over to you, Philip. What say you? Do we actually check our humanity at the door?
I used to, uh, because when you're dealing with law enforcement, military, and all that, if because you have things to do, you can't sit there and devote the time and effort needed to actually address whatever it is. We're taught to triage and patch them up, send them out. And if they come back, oh, shit, what did we do wrong? But to the most part, uh, I think this next generation are a lot more uh, emotionally intelligent the heck than I ever was. And it's about them. And our job now is to recognize and go, hey, you're no longer allowed in corporations to think of profits only. Screw the people, because there's 7 billion people. That's why they're like, well, we'll find another. Well, no, you lose that time and money and the expertise that go along with it. And the humanity part of it is how we're all going to make this a peaceful world.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Brenda Lees, I'll go to you. Have we been led to believe that we have to check our humanity at the door?
This is a deep one, and I think it's still in my core because I was just out of corporate America not even a year ago, right? So I I'm gonna respond this in a very political way, but at the same time being authentic to myself. Um, I believe, yes, I believe in one way or another. A lot of us, depending on the roles and depending on what you're doing, you sort of have to. You've been trained to do that. Is that the right thing to do? In my opinion, no. So I actually believe we behave a lot in alignment to our values, right? And when we don't know what our values are, then it's easier to check out our humanity on the door. But when we are clear, crystal clear or of our inner values, at that point, then you can easily challenge when you're put into that position. And you can just say no because you have the right to say no. But we've been when and I think Sarah can resonate with this. When you're part of a bigger organization or bigger organizations, even think of the context of family is an organization and you're part of a family. When you're part of an organization, even if it's church, family, schools, whatever organization you're surrounding yourself with, even work, yeah, until you're clear on your values, it's hard for you to know, okay, you know what, I'm going to stand up to who I am.
Well said. I love that, Brenda Lee. That is so amazing. And I'm just so glad that you're here, uh,
I'm
because that
glad.
is,
I'm glad I'm here. I think I've been looking for ways to find my place in life and in humanity and in society, and I feel very, very filled with appreciation and gratitude to be in a space like this and that a space like this exists.
yeah. So I can't wait to collaborate with you and speak with you more, Brenda Lee. Because like I said, BU is just right up our
Yep.
alley here at Bringing Humanity Together. Safrine, I go to you. Do have we been led to believe to check our humanity at the door?
Mm, by looking at us.
Have we been led to believe to actually check our humanity at the door?
Mm, Led to believe.
So when you go to work, you got to kind of leave your humanity behind and just only do the job.
No. No. I think humanity is always with us, right? Everywhere. I don't know what to say.
Well,
Your perspective, and that's all it is.
There's
My
no right or wrong.
My
That is true.
perspective is we are living in society and humanity is everywhere all the time. It's just perception, how someone is accepting it or receiving it. That's
That's
it.
amazing, Safrine.
Sorry.
That really is.
Okay.
In the little words that you put into it, it really is going to add up. It really has. I truly believe that's a beautiful share. Carla, over to you.
Well, I think for many years, organizations have expected you to leave your humanity at the door. I don't think it's right. I certainly don't anymore. But I think when you understand who you are and what you stand for and the boundaries that you set and what you will tolerate and not tolerate, and there's not a whole lot of stuff that I'll tolerate these days, you put your foot down and say no. I remember a situation where a girl I was working with, her daughter was sick, and so she had to go and pick her up from school. And management said, "Well, do you think that she could stay until lunchtime?" And I was just like dumbfounded. I said, "She needs to go pick her child up at school. We will make it work." Oh, okay. It's like, hello, do you have a heart? That you wouldn't, she's got to go,
All right, very good. Thank you so much, Carla. Over to you, Angelica. Have we been led to believe to check our humanity at the door?
I think they try sometimes. Corporations try to see who'll do it. I used to work temp a lot, so I've had so many different jobs, and one of the jobs I had was a bill collector, and it kind of train you to be unkind and just really forceful, and even try to get people to end up owing more, right? And I heard other people in the office, and I couldn't believe how they could just do that with ease. Of course, I didn't last there long. They didn't want me because that's not my personality. I can't do that. I can't do that. So goodbye. I'm not going to be. Somebody told me that their dog had died and they were going to pay their bill and stuff. And I said, "You take care of your dog. Don't worry about it." Like, they didn't want me there. Okay, so I was good with that. So now I have my own organization, but now working with children and families with the nonprofit, I feel it's a really good fit because I love people and these people need love. So this is where you bring humanity in, and I get to do it. It's fun to be able to be yourself at your job. So
Yes.
I'll give you back. Thanks, Chris.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Angelica. And I know Brian's going to have a different take on that. So, Brian, over to you, sir.
The answer is no. I mean, saying you left your humanity at the door going into the workplace, what do we turn into fish? Like, of course you bring your humanity. What else do you bring with you? Like, it's good and bad.
I like that.
Look, it sounds great to tell people to act a certain way and companies to be a certain way and to buy into your values and what you think is important and not. Like, it's all fallible. It all moves. It's all like, there's none of it's set in stone. It's all made up. So like, yeah, like, so you go to a company, you get paid to do a job, do the job. You don't want to do the job though, find someone else to do the job. Like, that's one viewpoint. Viewpoint, I'm not going to do it because it doesn't align with my values. Fine, don't do it. None of that stuff really matters to me anymore. Not all that important.
And as you say, Brian, life is perfect as it is.
Yeah, I mean, we make it up as we go along. I mean, we're byproducts of other people's decisions, but like, we buy into propaganda of the way we think the world should be, and the world isn't the way we are. So we have a whole bunch of unhappy people. But what if the world is exactly the way it's supposed to be? It's supposed to be chaotic, messy, random, not nice, violent. Like, at some level, Chris, we're on a little planet that's going thousands of miles an hour through a universe. It frankly doesn't really give a crap what we think. Never has, never will. So we create this like sense that we're more important than we really are. It's like, okay, if you want to buy into it, go for it. I'm going to enjoy my life working and doing what I do. And if you want to complain and be miserable, that's a you problem.
All righty. So again, thank you everyone for being here today. Thank you, Philip. Thank you, Brenda Lees. Thank you, Safrine. Thank you, Carla. Thank you, Angelica. And thank you, Brian. And Sarah, I'm going to message you here in a little bit, but I have to take another call because I got another one lined up. But me and you definitely need to talk. But again, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. Looking forward to speaking with you and collaborating with you soon, in the near future, Sarah. So I appreciate it.
Awesome. Take care, everyone.
Have a great day, everyone.
Love you all.
Bye, Carla.
Bye.
Carla, I'll send you pictures of the beach.